Hello there! What is going on, everyone? Happy Valentine's Day, and in the spirit of Valentine's Day, today we're going to be taking a look at a love letter game called Jabba's Palace. This is from Z-Man Games. It is based off and inspired by the love letter game, but it definitely has its own twist. We're going to look at this today, and since it is, of course, Star Wars and Valentine's Day, I thought what could be more appropriate than Jabba's Palace in the style of a love letter. Of course, if it were a different Jabba the Hutt game, might not be quite so appropriate for this day. If you like what you see here, we do a lot more Star Wars and science fiction tabletop games on the channel. Love to have you stick around. Let's get into Jabba's Palace. So much like its inspiration love letter, Jabba's Palace is a fast-paced, card-based player elimination game where you're going to be playing multiple rounds over the course of a game. These rounds can be only a few seconds in length, up to a few minutes. They go by very, very quickly, so the fact that it's player elimination might turn some people off, but the rounds happen so quickly that it being player elimination isn't very much of a problem. I think it's one of the reasons why Love Letter has been such an enduring game and has spawned so many different variants. Now, this version of Love Letter, it has a couple of different variants. First off, it does come with a bag like many do, but it's a very nice Jabba's Palace bag. Stores everything. You don't have to keep the box. You can toss the box. You've got a rule book. You've got 13 tokens. These are going to be given to a player who wins a round, and you will play multiple rounds until somebody hits the desired number of tokens. You may be playing to 5 tokens, you may be playing to only 3, depending on how many players you have. There are recommended victory token counts to play through in the book. So if you're playing with 6 players, for example, you may only play to 3. If you're playing less than that, you may play to a higher. Although you can always agree on a certain total. You may just want to play first player to 3 or first player to 5, whatever. Also, different player reference cards. The game does play up to 6, which is a nice change. Some versions of Love Letter only play 4. There are different mutators, which we'll take a look at those, that are going to change the way the game is played. And then there is our deck of cards, which is going to feature a lot of the denizens of Jabba's Palace, as well as rebels who were present during Return of the Jedi at Jabba's Palace. And we'll look at all of these here in further detail. Now, to play the game, you are going to shuffle the deck and remove one card randomly, keeping it face down. You'll always have one card slightly removed, so math nuts will never know exactly what is available in the deck. Then you're going to give everybody one card face down. That is going to be their hand. So I might start with a Salacious Crumb. What will happen is, during a player's turn, they will draw one card, and then they will choose one to play. The cards that they play are going to go face down in front of them because those are always going to count, especially for certain endgame agendas. And then you'll do whatever's on the card. A lot of times it will have you trying to knock out another player. For example, this 3 here, the mercenary, will choose another player and secretly compare hands. Whoever has the lower number is out. So you can be eliminated on the very first turn before you even do anything. Or I might play this against somebody else, find out that they have a higher number than me, and I might be instantly eliminated. That's why they have so many tokens. That's why this game goes so very, very quick. In a 2-player game, the whole first round would have been over on the very first card draw. And of course, the more you play the game, the more you realize that this is a risky play when you have very little knowledge. So maybe you want to play cards like Salacious Crumb that would let you look at another player's hand and then have a more informed decision. There are a lot of different cards. I'll go over what they do, but at the end of the game ends when the deck runs out of cards or when there's only one player left. Now, in the example that there's only one player left, no problem. That player is going to win a token. You shuffle, redraw, move on to the next round, keep playing until the desired number of rounds. But in the event that nobody has been eliminated and the deck runs out of cards, you will then reference your agenda card. Now, normally it's the highest number will win, and they have an Exalted One agenda for that. Of course, this synergizes with traditional love letter rules, but there are other, and these all have a different pack. You can randomize it, but you don't change these between rounds. This is for the whole game. So you could play Jabba's Court, and this could be the highest sum of Hutt Palace cards in the area. This is the cards that you have played, so that are in front of you. You could have Rescue Mission, the most rebels in the play area, or you could say the highest My Kind of Scum, which is going to be the highest number Hutt and rebel number in hand, both win the round. So multiple people, you could actually have 2 people win, and you could have a shared victory, especially if it came down to the very last the very last turn. There's also other ways that you can have multiple people win the game at the same time. That is possible according to the rules, but if it were up to me, I would do a tiebreaker round after that. So for our reference card here, is gonna point out the numbers of cards included. We have about almost twice as many Jabba's Palace cards as we do Rebel cards, so the Rebel cards are going to be a little bit more rare. Also, since some of these are going to be close to traditional love letter cards, but some of them are different, I'm going to go over all of them just for the sake of going over what they do. First off, you start with guards. They let you choose another player and guess a number. If they have that number in their hand, they're out. This is useful as when you don't know what's going on. Usually, you want to guess a number that is common. So 5, 4, 3, or 2 usually have the most likelihood of being in somebody's hand. In traditional love letter, though, you couldn't guess a 1. In this case, you can guess a 1, but since you have a 1 in your hand, the chances of them also having a 1 are a little bit lower. So that's an option. We're gonna keep going here. We've got the 2. We already talked about this one. This just lets you look at somebody's hand. We've got the 3 here, the mercenary. This lets you compare hands, and the lower number player is out. We've got the 4, which is kind of immunity. It means you cannot be targeted until the next round. In the event that somebody has to play a 1 or something like that, then you can't be targeted. The card still goes off, but just has no effect. And then we've got 5 as Boba Fett. Choose another player, take the card in their hand, and place it in your play area. A little bit different than a traditional 5 from Love Letter. Well, we are also, let me see what else we've got here. We've also got 6, which is going to be the Rancor. This one is very different. All players with the lowest number in hand except 0 are out. Count up out loud from 1 to find the lowest. So they basically, you play this card, and of course, you're not going to play this card if you have a 1. You know, when you draw 2 cards, and this is something you play if you've got a high card. So it's risky because it is going to tell other players that, like, hey, I wouldn't have played this card if I had a 1 or a 2. So if you're going to guess what number I have, you might have a more informed decision there. But it says, so you'll say 1. Anybody have any 1s? And as soon as somebody says I've got 1s, they're out. If 2 people have 1s, they're both out. If everybody at the table has a 1, they're all out, and then you might win the game. If there's no 1s, then you move on to 2 and repeat, and so on and so forth. You must be honest when you play this game too, by the way. There's no 7 for Jabba's Palace. The 7 is a Rebel card, so skips right over to 8, which is Jabba the Hutt. It says choose another player. If they have a Rebel card in hand, they are out. This is a very different, and this is probably the biggest difference in this game, is that the 8 doesn't eliminate you if you play it. You kind of want to hold on to it because it helps you win in a lot of game variants, and it helps you prevent you from being eliminated in a lot of different game variants. But yeah, it's not like the 8 in normal Love Letter at all. We're gonna look at some Rebel cards now. The Rebels do have a 0. Now, there's only 1 of each Rebel card, and there's only 1 of the 6 and the 8 for the Hutts, but there's 2 of everything else for the Hutts. All right, so let's look at the Rebel cards. The Rebels have a 0, which is really interesting. It's Han Solo, and if at the end of the round you have this in your hand, you're going to gain a victory token. This is interesting because this is it counts as you having won a game. A round. But if you've already won a round and then also, have this, or if somebody else wins and that was enough for them to, to win the whole game, you might get 1 too. You might tie them for the whole game. But it's pretty hard to win with a 0 in your hand, so that's why they give you that bonus. There's a C-3PO, and all the Rebel cards are going to be different. The number is going to be different than the corresponding number on the Hutt side. C-3PO lets you choose another player and guess a number. If they have that number in hand, they are out. If they do not, they do the same to you. So it's similar to the 1, but it's a little different. You've got R2-D2 here. Either look at the face down set aside card or choose another player and look at their hand. Again, similar to what a 2 normally does, but you get to look at a different card if you want to know for sure what is remaining in the deck. You've got Chewbacca here, who can choose another player. If they have a Hutt card of 4 or less in their hand, they are out. It's a little safer than the 3 on the Hutt side because this one isn't going to eliminate you. You've got Lando Calrissian. Choose another player and look at their hand. You may trade hands with them. That's always risky to trade hands with another player because then they know exactly what you have. But I like that it's a may because most times you probably won't want to do that. Especially since there's so much fewer ones. Normal love letter has 5 ones. So, you're always at high risk of somebody calling you out and eliminating you if they know what number you have. But in this, since there's only 2 guards and maybe a guard has already been played, maybe it's safe to go ahead and get Jabba the Hutt and, trade him, if Lando lets you do that. The Rebel 5 is Leia Organa. She lets you draw 2 cards and keep 1. If you put the other 2 on the bottom, then you put the other 2 on the bottom of the deck in any order. And then we skip over 6. The Rebels also have a 7. This is the only 7 in the game. Luke Skywalker says choose another player. If they have a Hutt card in hand, they are out. Very powerful card here, since almost 2/3 of the cards are Hutt cards. You're getting a lot of power with this card. Again, he's a Jedi Knight, so he is powerful, and I would certainly bargain with him for Solo's life. Well, that's about all there is to Jabba's Palace. Again, if you're familiar with Love Letter and that fast-paced gameplay, and eventually, having the gameplay improve as you learn what the cards do and start to, strategize a little bit more based on the numbers of cards that are remaining, you might very much like this. It's got different numbers though, so the math is very different in this game. They've changed up what some of the cards do. They've added the agendas, which can change the qualifications for the end of the game. It's a little harder to eliminate people due to the reduced number of ones that are in the deck, and of course it can play higher player counts. All in all, I think it's a delightful game. Not a complete replacement for Love Letter, but a solid variant. So if you're interested in checking out Jabba's Palace, you can get this from Z-Man Games. It's about, I want to say it was about $15 when I picked it up. I've been holding on to this for a little while, so the prices may have gone up, but makes for an excellent game to play with a big group, up to 6 or at least 2. You can still play this pretty well with 2 players. Gets better with at least 4, though. I think a 3 or 4 is a good spot for it, and also a great game to play on Valentine's Day. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Always wash your socks, and huge thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world.